Hello everyone and welcome back to Cooking and Kids. In today's episode, I'm taking you to my hometown of Bijeljina. First, I'm going to take you to our local market. We're going to explore some unique foods that grow in this region. Basically, I grew up in this dirt, and I'm thankful that I was exposed to this particular lifestyle, as today I'm able to share all these important life skills that I learned as a child with the younger generations. We're going to make a quick visit to my sister's house, and I'm also taking you to my apple orchard. In this region, almost every house is surrounded with similar orchards where they grow all kinds of fruit.
These are my favorite apples in the world. They are equally sweet as they are sour. And of course, each one has its own warmth.
Healthy organic food is everywhere, and chickens here are truly free range. Local homemade goods are sold on every corner. I'm also taking you to meet my favorite Chico and Nina, and I'm going to share with you one of my Nina's favorite cake recipes. I have purposely chosen this particular old-fashioned walnut cake because it represents this region in so many ways. All the ingredients that go in this cake are locally grown, all except vanilla and lemon. Desserts like these were often made during the fall and winter months, after walnuts was gathered and the wheat was harvested. Generations and generations of grandmothers have been perfecting recipes like this one. I'm very excited we're going to have a chance to revisit and recreate one of these old-fashioned cakes and to share this recipe with you. Bijeljina is located in the southeastern part of Europe, and it's only about 70 miles south from the grand river Danube. Two nearest big cities are Belgrade and Novi Sad. Three large rivers, including Danube, Sava, and Drina, have been bringing nutrient-dense soil to this region for millions of years, making it one of the most fertile areas in former Yugoslavia, and today in Serbia and in Republic of Srpska. Many wars were fought over this land, including most recent Ottoman Empire, the Austro-Hungarians, and Germans. Bijeljina is the center of a flat and fertile region called Siberia, bounded by two rivers, River Sava and River Drina. Both soil and climate are great for growing corn, wheat, and all kinds of vegetables like cabbage, peppers, tomatoes, and watermelons. Also, cattle breeding and growing fruits is very popular in this region. The earliest confirmed traces of human life in the area date from the New Stone Age of 5000 to 3000 BC. Although name Bijeljina was mentioned as early as 1446, its true name and full name Bijeljina was not established until 1918. The center of the city and the city hall proudly feature a statue of the King Peter I of Serbia, who ruled the Kingdom of Serbia between 1903 and 1918. When in town, it's hard to miss a local farmer's market or piazza. So I'm on my way to see what kind of fruit and vegetables they have to offer today. And while I was heading there, I stumbled on this chess game. Going to piazza is everyday occurrence. Normally, wives would send their husbands to pick up fresh groceries, but as you can see here, some of them would get lost in a game. There's nothing like a little feud and competition with your opponent for the early morning start. Social life is very important here, so little playstations like these and coffee shops are on every corner. After the fun game of chess, I was off to Piazza and to the local pastry shop. And by the way, there are so many different pastry shops around here. Bijeljina has amazing pastries because everything, including wheat, preserves, and cheeses, are grown and made locally. Piazza is by far my favorite part of the town. Everything from imported fruits and vegetables to locally grown. It's all available every day. This is like a little heaven for foodies like myself. Not only do you have fresh fruits and vegetables available every day, but you can also find rare items which are grown in local forests and in local fields. Not to mention the assortment of different homemade pastas. Beeswax candles can be found on the same table where they sell stone ground grains. Most of the flour comes from the rare grains and is locally ground on small river mills. It is not uncommon to find an elderly lady who just picked fresh fruits from the local forest, like these special berries. I haven't seen rose hips for such a long time. My grandmother used to make an amazing jam out of these. Food is not the only thing sold here. If you like crafts, you can pick up all kinds of different threads, and they're all 100% wool. Look how beautiful these are. I am getting these red ones for my daughter. I was buying so much stuff, I could hardly carry all the fruits and vegetables and all the little items that I picked up along the way. If I could only carry a little more, I would pick up some of these beautiful and freshly delivered flowers as well. Piazza is definitely a heart of a town. It's a gathering place. So you don't go there just to pick up a produce and items. You go there to say hello to people who work there and who so proudly provide their product. I almost got everything, so one more quick stop to pick up some smoked cheese and smoked meat, and then I'm off to our local coffee shop. Just like in the rest of the world, coffee is extremely important in this area, especially because people love to socialize. And having a cup of coffee with your neighbor or your friend is an everyday occurrence. With that said, there is quite a bit of emphasis on having your coffee roasted just right. People still love their freshly roasted and freshly grounded coffee, so much so that little boutique roasting companies like this one are still in existence. This particular store is adjacent to Piazza, and I can't tell you how good this freshly roasted coffee smelled through Piazza as I was shopping earlier. I simply had to stop by and pick up a little bit of this freshly roasted and freshly grounded coffee. I wish more small businesses would survive and operate still because they are such a vital component to a healthy economy. I like to believe that despite the growing trend of the big chains in America, that eventually we will realize how crucial it is to have a vital small businesses in our communities. Call me an old world girl, but I often think about what would happen to the supply chain if there's ever an international crisis or national crisis like we had it with the COVID. I've been promoting local sustainability since 2009. Our initiative gained its full recognition in 2020 during the COVID restrictions. Oh, by the way, I walked to the coffee shop to just get a little bit of fresh coffee, and I walked out with no less than 6 kilos. part of my soul has always been fond of old things. Perhaps it's not the things, but rather a story that comes behind them. I wish to dedicate this episode to old way of life. Times when every yard has its apple tree in the middle of it, and every old pot was planted with different herbs and vegetables and gorgeous flowers. Much simpler times when people were closer to land and nature, and when they took a great pride in their daily work and the way they live. Times when people said yes forever and they meant it, where love grew to friendship and friendships grew to laughter. A way of life that was as beautiful and fruitful as the trees they grew. A life like my Chico and my Nina still live. Many wonderful things come out of a good life, and today's recipe is just the proof of it. This is my Nina's famous walnut and jam layered cake. Thin, flaky layers of cake are filled with the ground walnuts and a homemade jam. How good is this? Today, I'm going to try to recreate this recipe and perhaps take the measurements down so that you too can try my Nina's favorite walnut cake. So let's give it a try. We are starting with a cup of milk, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 3 tablespoons of sugar. By the way, I don't have the actual recipe, so we're going to wing it. Next is a tablespoon of yeast. So now we're going to bring milk onto the fire just long enough for milk to get lukewarm. So be careful not to overheat it. While yeast is activating in a lukewarm milk, we're going to whip room temperature butter. We're going with 2 sticks of butter and a half a cup of powdered sugar. Whip this well, and then we will bring the yeast. As you can see, yeast is starting to activate. So now we're just going to combine these two. All right, now that we have these two combined, we're going to add some lemon zest. And this will go per your taste. A little bit of lemon juice, like maybe half of the lemon, a tablespoon of vanilla, and we're also going to add a couple of egg yolks. By the way, can you see the difference between homegrown and store-bought egg yolk? Anyhow, we're now moving to adding flour, and I would suggest that you add 1 cup at a time. We're going to need about 5 cups of flour, or until you create a dough that's dense enough and manageable enough. Something like this. Okay, we're going to put the dough in the fridge to rest, and now I'm moving into grounding walnuts. This old clunker of a machine was given to me by my aunt many decades ago. It's broken in so many places, but it still works, so I simply can't get rid of it. My aunt used to live in Switzerland, and while she was there, I asked her to give me a good walnut grinder. So she did. This little machine has served me for over 30 years, and its grinder is still as sharp as ever. But to make it even more special, my aunt just passed away a few weeks ago. So I'm definitely keeping this little gadget. Now that we have our walnut, we're moving to jam. Now, do you notice the date on this jar? 2011, and today is 2021. This jam is 10 years old, and it's as fresh as the day I made it. But the best part is that there's not an ounce of preservative in it, sugar and fruit, and that's it. By the way, this is a homegrown fruit, and if you would like to learn how to can preservative-free, you can check out some of our YouTube videos on canning figs and canning apricots. As you can see, I have divided the dough into 6 balls. We also have about 4 to 5 cups of ground walnuts and about 2 cups of whipped jam. Now basically we're just gonna thin the dough, and this is about the thickness of it. shape it in a round shape, and then we're gonna set it in a baking dish. So you get the point from here, I'm sure. But one thing that I would like to point out is as you work with this dough, keep in mind that this is a fatty, heavy dough. Therefore, we want to use very little of this jam. So basically, we're just putting a very thin layer and just enough for walnuts to stick to the dough and for walnuts to absorb some of the moisture. So basically, as you can see what I'm doing here, spread the jam very lightly. So don't press on the dough, just very lightly over the dough and pour the walnuts. And when it comes to walnuts, I would say about half a cup, maybe 3/4 cup per layer. And again, it's also per your preference. One beautiful thing about the old recipes like this one is that they were created with ingredients that average family could produce themselves. In many instances, instead of butter, people would use lard, and lard was such a high quality that it could be used in pastries. In my family, for instance, we were able to produce our own butter, our own lard. We grew our own wheat. We had our own fruit trees, and we also had our own walnut trees. Not to mention that we also had chickens. Obviously, very few families can produce that amount of food on their own. But my point here is that if you can produce everything, you could at least plant a fruit tree if you have a little dirt around your home to grow apples or pears or plums or whatever grows in your region and make a homemade jam out of it. So if you ask me, why would you bother with that? My answer is, why would you not? These are important life skills that I think should be preserved. Despite how advanced we become technologically, I still think making or producing your own food is an art and a skill that humanity will need forever and ever. And it's something that's definitely worth passing on to our kids. So if you can grow your own wheat, go get some chickens if you can, or put the apple tree in your backyard, or maybe a lemon tree, or whatever grows in your area. And not to mention that making homemade meals like this and in old recipes, it just brings this special vibe to your home and to your family. So that too is very important. So I hope this little old-fashioned recipe will encourage you to go and do something in your kitchen and share it with your family and your neighbors. Okay, this was the last layer, so let's go ahead and bake it. Before I do it, I'm going to poke a few holes like this, and I'm going to bake it on 350 for the first 20 minutes, and then I'm going to reduce a temperature on 325 for another 20 minutes. Before cutting it, make sure the cake is entirely cooled off. There's a lot of discussion about eating sweets and carbs in these days. And I definitely agree that we should reduce the amount of sugar and carbohydrates in our diet. However, there are other countries in the world who don't stress as much as we do about the diet. And I think one of the reasons is that their food is not as heavily processed as ours is. So if you're going to treat your kids and your family to a sweet treat, try to make it from scratch, using wholesome and nutritious ingredients. My kids loved it, and I wish they would give their own critics, but since they have grown into teenagerhood, they have become camera shy. While enjoying this cake, we realized that my daughter was only 8 years old when this jam was made, and today she's only a few days short of her 18th birthday. Crazy, right? Who said you needed preservatives to keep food fresh? Rustic cakes like these were staple food for Christmas holidays. And I like old things. Like I said earlier, they help tell the stories about us. As technology advancements help us leap into the future, my goal is to preserve some of these old recipes and old world living skills and to pass them on to the next generations. I'm a firm believer that no matter how technologically advanced we become, humanity should not let go of its roots. Like a fruit tree, without healthy, deep roots, it will not yield good fruit. Thank you so much for spending time with us and for watching our program. If you're interested in this lifestyle, please visit us on YouTube, as we are just now starting a series on becoming a beekeeper. Our program Cooking and Kids is produced and distributed by a charitable organization called Litte Seeds of Life. My charity's mission is to help reconnect families and communities in America and beyond. Litte Seeds of Life offers 3 different programs through which we serve families and communities. First one is this television program called Cooking and Kids, which aims to teach young families and kids how to cook, garden, and how to eat healthier. Our second program is called America Dines In, which we use to organize special community events and to bring communities closer together. Our third program, called Growing Strong, focuses on helping former foster youth, single struggling moms, and cancer patients. Organization further offers a program called Litte Sprouts, which is organized through public libraries in Southern California. Program offers free vegetable and fruit seeds to communities in Riverside County, San Diego County, and Los Angeles County. With some luck and help from supporters like you, we hope to expand this project beyond California and hopefully bring it on a national level. Litte Sprouts offers free vegetable and fruit seeds to anybody in our communities, and this is a great way to promote more quality family time outdoors. It's a great opportunity to teach kids how to garden, how to prepare meals out of the food they grow, and most importantly, this is an opportunity to engage both parents and children in a quality family time. I'm a firm believer that every childhood deserves its own apple tree and a whole lot of nature to play in it. I hope that with this episode, I was able to open up a window to a different lifestyle and a way in which people are still able to keep the balance between the old and a new way of life. Change and progress are inevitable, but so is the human need for healthy food and healthy environment. I am very encouraged and inspired by the new trends in our society, which are leaning towards more natural way of eating and living. We would love to hear from you, and we would love to have you on board with the Litte Seeds of Life initiative for healthier and better connected families and communities. Please stop by our website, see what we are all about, and drop us a note. We would love to hear from you. And if you have a particular idea about the future program, let us know. We might be able to accommodate. Also, keep an eye on future episodes of Cooking and Kids, as we just returned from Turkey, where we filmed 2 additional episodes of our program. Visiting our roots and people with whom we grew up, it's always fun. Whether we like it or not, we are all products of the places and environments in which we grew up. Today, I can proudly say I grew up on the fertile land and among some of the most loving people. With that same message in my heart, I'm departing from my town of Medjasi and Bijeljina, and I'm leaving fertile lands of Siberia and heading back to LA, where I will continue with my work on my charity and on promoting more quality family time among families and communities in America and beyond. By modern technology and internet, world is getting smaller and smaller, which gives us all opportunity to get involved on a national and global level. So I hope this episode will encourage you not only to return to the more natural lifestyle and to spend more quality time with your family, but also encourage you to get involved and engaged in your community and beyond. Each child and each person in this world have an infinite potential to grow and to give back. With that in mind, Litte Seeds of Life will continue to gather stories and ways of life from around the world to help us all grow up more wholesome and more giving. No matter where my travels take me, it's always exciting to come back home. I'm bringing with me all kinds of fresh ideas from Bijeljina, and I can't wait to put them to work. Until then, we look forward to hearing back from you, and we look forward to sharing our next episode of Cooking and Kids. Sending you lots of love, and please take good care of yourself and those around you.